Happy to be here. I have one of my first teachers here, Dr. Akandavala, and Sumudhu, if you are listening, I'm her first student, okay? That's an inside joke. Yeah, guys, Priyanka and I, we've been going back and forth on this a while, and we felt that this is kind of a skill set that you guys need to learn now. Because this statement here, people are scared that AI is going to take your job. No, AI is not going to take your job, but the person who knows how to use AI will. Because the person who knows how to use an AI properly is efficient and can do the work of maybe 10 people and still go home by noon. Right? This is why you need to learn this. So let's kind of dive in, right? This is going to be a workshop. I'm not going to be talking too long. We are going to go back and forth doing actual work. All right. This whole thing started with this paper. Attention is all you need. Funny enough, how many of you? So this is what gave rise to ChatGPT. Who knows what company actually did this, or is it already there? It's all there. It's funny enough, it's a group of scientists from Google who actually wrote this paper. And Google kind of did not realize the impact of that paper. It's a little startup called OpenAI that picked up this paper and developed on it. The point I want to make here is there are little nuggets of amazing research that's been done already, right? That only needs somebody with a different frame of mind to look at it. That only needs somebody with a different frame of mind to take a look at it and create something absolutely phenomenal. There's only 700 odd people working at OpenAI, right? And they've made this amazing leap just by looking at a paper that was written and kind of forgotten by a lot of people. Yeah? So that's in 2017. And this image is already out of date. These are all of the different large language models, foundational models that has been generated until the end of 2023. Right? And there's a massive number more. Why do I put this figure up to you? This figure up here? It's because if one model doesn't work for you, there's a whole lot more that you can select from. Right? And if one model is like, you know what, we're going to start charging customers, there's a whole lot more open source models that you can use, right? All right. Not going to go into a lot of details here, but this is kind of a standard graph. These are all the capabilities of the different models. This is kind of weighted more towards GPT 4.0, so they are not doing a good job of benchmarking all the different models. But what's interesting is it's approaching, it's not there yet, but it's approaching almost human levels in certain things. For example, math, it's at like 76%, right? And it's slowly creeping up to almost human level of performance. There are two ways of looking at it. One way is, oh my God, this is coming to take my job, right? Another way of looking at it is, hey, I can use like 3 of those and get my job done faster. Another argument to this is, if AIs are doing math, then humans are not going to learn. And I'm hoping by the end of this class you will understand that that's not true. Humans are still going to learn, but we are going to learn the way we have evolved to learn best. It's making intuitive jumps as opposed to reading through pages and pages of material. Right? So this monster is already here. We have 2 options. Bury our heads in the sand, right? And completely ignore that it's not there. Or you can bring the monster to the table and ask it, what can you do? What can you do for me? Right? And for me, you are like, you know what? I want to go home by noon. Okay. What are the kind of work that I'm doing that can be automated? Well, this, and this. All right, I'm going to assign it to you, right? You keep working through the night, and I'm going to go home at noon. It's a good mindset to have. Being lazy is a great thing in this day and age. Because if you are not lazy, you won't actually think through these things. If you are lazy, you are like, you know what, I don't want to deal with all of this. AI, you take care of it, I'll come and check your work. Yeah? So, go into these different models. And again, I'm not going to talk a lot about theory. There are several models available. And these models have a paid version and a free version. Right? Free version is more than enough to achieve what you need. We use the paid version because we are throwing some security in there and we do a lot of larger projects. But for students to learn and become extremely competent, the free versions are enough. The base model right now was Cloud 3.5, right? I didn't read the news during the 22 hours I was traveling. I landed here and I found that this one, the open source model, is now almost equal to these two. That's how fast this field is moving. Another thing I want to tell you is, whatever you are learning here, you will have to kind of make it a habit, at least for half an hour. Not to read the scientific papers, because that scientific peer review process is too long to catch the most modern or the newest information. Start reading things like VentureBeat, which is basically a series of blogs about new technology that is coming to the market. That's where the new information comes in. That's what helps you keep ahead. So these models actually can, most of them run on servers. Then we have these things called LM servers or language model servers or large language model servers. That is in case you don't want to share your information with an AI that gets used to train the AI. Then you can download some of these models, right? You use an LM server to use the model locally. A classic example would be grading papers, right? You can get GPT-4 to grade the papers for you with strict instructions, but then of course the student information goes out. But you can download one of these models, right? And give it strict instructions, put it in one of those boxes, and that's the only place it is, right? You unhook the network cable and it's safe, it's there, and then you can use it to grade papers, right? Or if you want to create new syllabi, all of these, you can do it this way. But we are talking about coding, right? So you can actually use any of these to write code. But sometimes you want the coding environment to be in the coding tools to be in the same environment that you're coding in, right? So GitHub Copilot, CodeGPT, CodeM, Amazon Code Whisperer, these are things that you can install into your own coding environment. How many of you have used Visual Studio or heard about it? So Visual Studio is a coding environment, right? And I'll show you what it is, and you can literally have them there. Now, these are the newest kids on the block. So far I've been talking about single AIs, right? Devin AI, Devika AI, which is, I think somebody had a good sense of humor there. Replicate Code Repair, Open Devin, and all of those are essentially agents that can take over the entire task of writing software. From documenting it, to unit tests, to debugging it, these things will take care of everything for you. So now here's a question for you. And I'm not trying to trivialize the work done by computer scientists. But here's a question for you. If AIs can do this work, what kind of an advantage does it give you? Because you all are all domain experts. You all are experts in something, right? I'm pretty sure you guys come up with this idea, oh, if I have a computer program that can do this for me, right? That's the value of domain experts. You all understand the problem. You all understand where this thing can apply. For a long time, the bottleneck has been that you have to know somebody who understands coding in order to do it. So I don't know about you guys, but for us it never worked. Because for medical applications, we would go and talk to the engineers, computer engineers, and they would come up with a solution that never works for us. Here's a classic example. There was something about pediatric necrotizing enterocolitis. We had the application and all of that. Gave to the engineers, they created an application which was an app, right? you basically have to go to each of the pre-meets station and enter the data. Well, we have 50 pre-meets in one unit. If the nurse actually had time to do that, we don't have the problem in the first place. But because the nurses and all of them understood the problem, they actually knew the solution, they just did not have the capacity to code. But now you can. Right? You know the problem, you can break it down into small steps, and you can build the code one at a time. Right? I also want to kind of make a distinction here about the type of learning. Right? I don't know, I'm probably the only one remember. How many of you remember CAP abstracts? You, me, you, I think they're past CAP abstracts. When we had to find the material we needed, we go to the library, read through the CAP abstract to find the abstract for the paper that we need, then take it to the librarian, the librarian would tell us, or we find out where that paper is and then read it, right? That's where we came from. And then came the internet, right? Where you can just put some terms there and pick the papers we want, right? And the papers are there, then some of the knowledge is missing, then came things like Wikipedia, which are knowledge bases, right? But the one thing that none of them did, they were all static. For example, if you didn't understand a paragraph in Wikipedia, you can probably go to an expert and say, what does this really mean, right? So these are static. This is the one time in human history where we have conversational learning possible. If you don't understand that paragraph, you copy and paste it into an AI, explain this to me. I'm like, all right, this is what it means. Well, I still don't get it. Explain it to me as if you would explain it to a fifth grader. All right, no problem. This is what it is, right? Guys, you have no idea how powerful that is. Because I do this a lot of the time I do this. Because if I don't understand something, I don't have to wait for an expert to come and explain it to me. I can just go and use an AI. Hey, I don't understand what this block of code does. Can you explain it to me? No, I still didn't understand it. Explain it to me like a fifth grader, right? And then I can slowly grasp it, right? So the power of learning is now totally in your hand. And on the other hand, here you are the domain experts who understand the problem really well, right? So now you can have a conversation going back and forth with an AI. I have this idea. What do you think? So these large language models, their biggest advantage is it can identify patterns, right? It can associate this what I call long distance relationship. For example, if there's a word, let's say Harry Potter, there's a word at the beginning of Harry Potter and word at the end of Harry Potter, it understands the relationship of how it relates to each other. So these human brains are not that good at that. We might read through an entire book and we probably forget a few things. These guys do, right? So you can actually use these as powerful tools. So let's dive in. I mean, this is all going to be a hands-on workshop. So Priyanka and I, we talked about it before I left, right?
Yes.
And I haven't even planned for this. We were like, hey, I'm going to be in town. I'm going to be visiting my parents. Let's do something together. When I left, I didn't have anything. Got on the plane. Dallas to Doha, the planes have internet. Doha to Sri Lanka, no internet. And this was my conversation with the AI about how to map out this workshop, right? I gave it some information, right? And then we had a conversation. Okay, so these guys are experts in different domains. How should we actually structure this workshop? It's like having a partner that I could actually have a conversation. That document that you got, it was just me and an AI going back and forth. Right? You don't take what the AI says as absolute truth. You're like, well, that's not true. This is what I think about it. What are your thoughts? What have other people thought about it? Right? That entire document was generated in a flight from Dallas to Doha, which is about 12, maybe 13 hour flight. Right? And I was sleeping half the time too. So that's the power of these AIs. But in terms of what we are doing now, so let's pull up that actual, I'll use that actual workshop document as an example. It's out of this. All right. So let's take this. I'm going to grab, oh, I don't know, something here. You guys know this, and I'm just trying to get everyone to get on the same page. Right? You carry out this conversation. And now let's say you don't know what foundational models are, right? So you can say, I really don't understand. Oh, by the way, it's all right to spell things. It's good at catching those two. Foundational models. Explain this to me as if you would explain it to a fifth grader. Right? It's time to think, I guess. No, that's simple enough language, right? If that's not enough, you can go down to a kindergarten level and then slowly start learning. And guys, AIs don't judge you. They have no egos, right? They forget about you the moment you are done. Perfect person to actually have a conversation with. What was it? My wife was telling me this joke. Husbands are the best persons to keep secrets because they don't remember anything. Awesome guys to have conversations with. They have no egos. But these things can be applied to a lot of other domains, right? So that's Claude. You have access to that. This is ChatGPT, right? Again, you have access to that. This is Gemini, and we'll come back to Gemini in a bit. You all made accounts on Hugging Face. Hugging Face has something called Hugging Face Chat, which is super interesting. Let's get a new chat, because you can select the model you want to use. Right? This Llama 3.170B is the one that is a contender in terms of capabilities. Right? Beauty of it is these are open source models. If you like this model, and if you have a powerful enough computer, you can download it and use it locally. Right? 3 things that you can do. There are so many things you can add here. This thing called system prompt is a set of hidden messages that you give it. Right? The system prompt can be your helpful assistant, all the way to very complex ones that simulate patients and all of that. Yeah. And there's another one. These all fall under LM servers Grok, which is a faster way of inferencing. You can also pick the model that you want and you can ask questions, right? So, conversational learning. You take a bit of material and you have a conversation with an AI about it. You ask it, okay, if I have learned this, what is the next thing I should learn? Give me some questions to see if I have learned this properly. Check if I have answered these questions properly, right? Okay, I seem to not know how to answer this. Where do you think the problem is? What are the areas I haven't learned yet? Right? Instead of waiting for exams, you are kind of continuously self-evaluating yourself and continuing to move forward. Right? So, questions so far? It's a conversation, guys. Yeah? Yeah? Hugging Face, yes.
The model that you want to use means what do you mean?
Right. So, what large language models, there are different, people take different approaches. So, OpenAI, which creates ChatGPT, their model is called GPT-4. A model is basically the output of a lot of training. It's the brains behind the whole operation. So GPT-4 or GPT 3.5 were trained on all of human knowledge that could be found on the internet, right? Which is Stack Overflow, which is where all of our coding people go. Reddit, where I understood how to have a conversation with a human, right? And essentially, it's a some composition of human knowledge that works to until its training cutoff date, which is I think 2023 now, to which it has access. Not only knowledge in isolation, it also understands how this part of our knowledge led to this part and how this knowledge relates to this other part, right? Think of it like a massive brain, right? It's like an extremely knowledgeable 3-year-old, right? You need to give it instructions. You can't give like, hey, go do this to a 3-year-old. They'll probably go do something else, right? You need to actually break it down and instruct the 3-year-old. But the 3-year-old has a lot of knowledge, yeah. So a model in this sense is GPT-4 is a model. Anthropic has Claude, which is another model. And the distinction between the two is Anthropic's one is supposed to be more ethically sound. And then Llama, so these both of them are what are called closed source models. Because we don't have access to that model, we don't know how it's trained, we don't have the neural weights. Then Facebook, who came late to the party, decided to take a completely different track, and they're like, we are going to create open source models. In the sense that these are models that you can now download, implement locally, and use, right? GPT-4 and Claude, you can't do that. Gemini is another one that you can't do it that way. But since if you go to Hugging Face, you will see there's, I think, over 500,000 models there now. Each model, you take it, and once you actually have a model, you can do what is called fine-tuning. So if you take a Llama model, and you're like, you know what, there's not enough botany knowledge here, right? I'm like, I'm going to fine-tune it on botany. And then you will have a Llama instruct that is actually fine-tuned on botany, right? And if it's like botany with respect to Sri Lanka, flora, that's another domain, right? You can take that base model, so these are called transfer learning. You take that model that knows how to interact with people, knows math, knows philosophy and all of that, and you give it an additional level of knowledge that comes from your domain, right? So these are what is meant by models, and different models have different capabilities, right? Different models have different expertise, I would say. And you need to kind of play around with these, okay? Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Very good question. Now you said you can say like it doesn't give enough of India.
Yeah.
You can give the model of Sri Lanka too. Because if that is not prepared, no,
Yes.
primitive question.
No, it's not. It's actually a very advanced question. So this is all about creating training data sets, right? And you have to create what I call and we probably should go into this afterwards, because creating these additional training data sets is a separate art on its own. It's called fine-tuning. Fine-tuning a model. There are two ways of doing it. First is you can actually add a set of information to this system message. Basically give it the instructions. You will only use your knowledge with respect to botany related Sri Lankan flora. Probably not going to be enough, right? And then the fine-tuning part, it takes time because the model literally has to learn a whole new skill. But it's so much cheaper than building a model from scratch. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
One question, sir. So when we type something, a paragraph or
Yeah.
something, can the model learn from it?
There are two answers to this. If you have the free version of this thing, of course, they don't learn on the fly, because that's training a model is very expensive. What it will do is it'll if you're using the free version, your conversations are actually used to train the subsequent models, right? So the subsequent models will get better. There's a component called memory that if you actually, so ChatGPT, if memory is enabled, it will learn from your conversations, but not to that level. It will understand that something you have tagged as wrong is wrong, right? But for me, I wouldn't actually consider it to be a challenge, right? Because you do not say, you get a paragraph from ChatGPT, and you're like, I don't think that's right. What do you do? You actually feed it to cloud. Hey, these are my thoughts. What do you think? Right? And Claude is like, well, these are actually correct. I am not so sure about that. Take that and give it to ChatGPT. Hey, you got this wrong. Do something about it. Right? So don't. The reason I'm putting multiple models here is you can always cross-check the answer of one that you're not sure about with another model. But it's a roundabout way of answering your question. Yes, they will be used to train the model, but it's not dynamic training. It will be the next iteration of the model that will be trained. Yeah? Any other questions? All right. Now, what I want you guys to do is open up Google Colab, and the easiest way to do it is this. Open up a new tab and type in Google Colab. Yeah. Just go to that. And so I'll create a new notebook. Everybody see it? Everyone will see a different version of this because I use this a lot. I see this. You know. Now, why am I using Google Colab? I work on multiple different computers, right? Just like a Google Doc, doesn't matter which computer you're accessing it from, right? That document is still accessible. Google Colab is somewhat like that. It doesn't matter where you're working from, it will still be accessible to you, right? And Google Colab is what is called, it's a form of coding called notebook style coding, where you have text that describes what the block of code does, and then you have a block of code afterwards, right? Now, do all of you have this little icon called Gemini there? Raise your hands if you do not. This little thing here called Gemini. You have, right? On the right top corner? Yeah? Perfect. You have your AI assistant. Yeah. So now we're going to play around with this. So let's see. The reason I like Google Colab, as I mentioned, is you can do a lot of things with this. So I'm going to say this is workshop. EGIS workshop, and I want to kind of describe what I'm going to do first. Yeah, this is called Markdown. Now I'm throwing out a lot of words that you probably don't understand, but what do you do if you don't understand? You ask the AI, what did that guy mean by Markdown? Right? AI knows it. I'm just giving you a lot of dots that you're going to use the AI to fill in. Right? So I'm going to double click here, and Markdown has a specific style. You put a hash there, and you can say, we will begin. Oh, let me delete it first, and I'll show you how to get there. So if you kind of hover over that border, you should have an option for code and text. You? So if you click text, it's a text box. Yeah? And when you double click on it, you can start writing on it. And a single hash, it's the heading style. Single hash is like a title heading. Right? And I can say, we will begin by importing and you guys can write whatever. Mom, I'll be home for breakfast or whatever, it doesn't matter. Learn answer data set. Right? Great. Anyone know how to import this? No? You see this thing that says generate with AI? Click there. And it will ask you for some permissions. Give the permissions. I'll wait. Ask for permissions. Tell me when you guys are done with the permissions. Everyone good? You have an issue? Start coding or generate with AI. Do you see that? Where it says generate, click that. Yeah?
There's a request from the bank saying,
Yeah.
"Sir, can you please increase the font size?"
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. How's that? Better? I should have looked over there. Can I, let me do this one more time. So, right. So, I have the code block, and you click on generate. Okay? Yeah? Everybody's good? Well, tell it. Please import scikit-learn data breast cancer data set. Yeah, you can hit generate or you can hit enter. And there you have it. You have the first block of AI generated code. Right? But we still don't know what it does. You need to run this. Scikit-learn. SCIKITLEARN. And I'll explain what scikit-learn is in a little bit. You good? Alright. So in order to run it, you just have to click this, right? Now, few things are going to happen when you run it for the first time. When I hit run, you will see that it says connecting. What it's doing is it's connecting to the Google servers, right? The beauty of this is it's independent on the power of your CPU, of your laptop, right? Because all the heavy lifting is done by the Google servers. So this is just something that you use to run instructions in. Alright, connected, and when it has run, you will see this little green check mark. Everything's good. Alright? So let's add another block of text. Kind of thinking through what we need to do first. Well, I don't know what this data set needs, right? One of the first things we do is ask it to do the summary statistics, right? So let's say in this block of code, we will be doing the summary statistics. Right? And then you hit the line that says code again. Everyone got that? No? Alright. Right? We will be doing the summary statistics, right? And that part that says plus code. So you click that. And you again get the option to generate with AI. Right? And you click generate with AI. There are so many things you can do. Please. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're basically working with an AI to build this one step at a time. Right now, of course, you can get an AI to write the entire block of code. The value of Google Colab notebooks is it allows you to create a reproducible code that is understandable. Right? Everything is properly documented, and somebody else, when you are done with this and you are like, This is my project. And let's say, Madam, you and I are doing something on plant systematics. I can then share this with Madam and say, Madam, this is what I did, right? Can you please check whether I have done it right? It's just like a Google document, yeah? So, we are doing summary statistics, right? So, we can say, please generate summary statistics for this data set. Right? Anytime you give this instruction in natural language, the system interprets it and writes a code to do that. So I can hit enter. And it's written the code to do it. Right? You don't see anything yet because you haven't run that block of code yet. You go here, run that cell. And there you have just some statistics. So, this is good because we go back and forth a lot in these first few steps, right? So I'm gonna take this out again, right? So we are over here. This is our text box, right? And we are gonna do this. Click this one that says code, right? Next, we hit this generate icon, right? The hyperlink one. And now it's asking us to give some instructions. And since in this block of code we are generating summary statistics, this will say, please give. And remember, this doesn't have to be exact, right? So I'll give you an example. Yo, dude, generate some summary stats for me, right? See, no ego. I'm like, yeah, sure you go. Here you go. The value of this, it used to be when you are doing computer programming or computer coding, that syntax needs to be exact, right? These are deterministic systems. Enter will work, or there's a generator icon there. Did it work?
Yes.
Alright. Yeah, so then you have to run, you just basically click this. This little play button on the left hand side, that's what you click, right? And it creates a summary stats file. Doesn't matter if you haven't written a single line of code in your life. That's AI stuff. What you do know is when you get a set of data, you need to kind of look at the summary stats first. What are the how many data points do you have? What is the mean? What is the standard mean, max, 25, and all of that, right? I kind of like to see this in a graph format because we are human beings, right? We were evolved to look at patterns. We were not evolved to look at numbers and understand this. So let's kind of tell you to do that, right? So, yeah. Yes. Yeah, this is the I can't remember the place, but I'll show you the data. It's so
Published statistics.
it's published. No, this is not published statistics. It generated the stats from the data.
Available from the.
Yeah, so the data, actually this would be a good segue for that, right? Let's go to, yes. Right, so yeah, scikit, let's go to scikit-learn, right? Yes, so if you go to scikit-learn, so you have the iris plant data set, which is like a puppy related one. It's got a lot of data, and And I'll give that to you in a little bit. This is the breast cancer Wisconsin diagnostic data set. This is the one that we are using. So, interesting thing in Google Colab, there are things called libraries, right? Libraries are specialized libraries, just like a regular library. Science library, if you go to the science library, you might not have the English classics in there, right? Similarly, in coding, there are things called libraries. You need to have those libraries already installed. Colab already has the Scikit library installed, so you don't have to install a separate library, right? And if during any time that you are doing this, you run an error, you copy that error, paste it to an AI and ask it, why did this fail? And it will tell you, all right, you need to install this library. How do you install that library? This is the command to install that library. Where should I run it? You should run it at the top, right? And I'm intentionally leaving holes for you guys in the hope that you will fall into one of those and then use an AI to dig yourself out. Right? It's a different style of learning, I understand, but it's also it's important that we actually ask these questions from ourselves too, right? And sometimes I will have too many gaps, I think. But I need to come back to scikit-learn because that's, if you follow that program, you're going to be expert data scientists in that, right? So if you go back to, let's look at this. All I told it was, please import scikit-learn breast cancer dataset, and it did something, right? But what if I don't understand what this code is? What you do is you just copy it. You can, so Gemini in this case is a code assistant. You can ask it questions, but it complicates your coding environment. You just go to one of these other AIs that you have, any one of these. I'm using Hugging Chat here, and I'm going to say, what does the following code do? And I'll tell it, by the way, TW, it is running on the, and if you hit shift and enter, you get another line, and you can, oh, I'm going to slow down. No, I'm going a little bit too fast. Okay. Oh, yeah, so let me go back to what I was doing. Not at all, right? So it's, you have these lines of code, right? You can either copy the cell or you can highlight it just the regular way, right? And do a Control C, or you can just right click and do a copy cell or copy selection, and you just post it into any one of these AIs. I'm using Hugging Chat, but you can post it to ChatGPT, into Gemini itself, right? And it explains to you what it's doing. So from this line of code, this line imports load breast cancer function from scikit-learn dataset. Now, if you don't know what function is, ask a subsequent question. What do you mean by a function? Did you notice something here? This is how kids learn, right? I don't know how many of you have kids. You remember at a very young age, it's like a continuous stream of whys. Well, why? You explain and then like why, right? And that's the most effective way of learning. It's conversational learning. You think about a problem and why did that? Why did you? Right? So I did not know what a function was, right? So I asked it, okay, what is a function? Because over here at the top it says, this line imports load breast cancer function. What is a function? I don't know what a function is, so I asked it that question. Function is a block of code that performs a specific task. Yeah. So this is how you kind of go back and forth, learning on your own, right? Trying things out, getting the AI to explain it. This is a 24/7 tutor that is available for you free of charge. Yeah. And if you go back to the coding that we were doing, we did the summary statistics. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not going to like it that way. So I'm gonna say, well, let's look at this in graph, right? So I click the text, get a single hash, so I get bigger title, and then I go to the bottom of that, hit code, click on generate with AI, show the summary statistics in graph form. Yeah. You can either click generate or you can hit enter and it will generate the code file. Right? And then you run it. Someone have an issue? And this little chevron tells you where it is. I would say this is like publication quality graphs it's making, right? And we have all of this. So great, you have this. Okay, so it's kind of nice. Let's kind of play around with this data a little bit. Okay, everybody got these nice pretty graphs? 2 colors? Not 2 colors? Single color? I'm telling you, you need it in 2 colors. Don't let them get away with being lazy. They will be lazy from time to time, just like kids, right? And you can also specify the colors. Hey, I want it to be like black and white, red and blue. Curious what the colors will be such that. Oh, it generates something different for you guys. You know? Sorry. This is another way of showing it in graph format. So you can generate scatter plots. Summary statistics in a scatter plot format. That's what it has done. Remember, this does not replace your need to learn statistics. This does not replace your need to understand how to represent data. Yeah, you still have to learn all of this. But what this does is make it so much easier to implement. What else can we do? What happened to you? Did it work? Scatter plots, yeah. Now it's a different one. Okay. So, what did I ask you to do? MATLAB is the same as pair plot. Pair block is in. I'm sorry, it's not scatter plot. Pair block. Good. That's your generating. Oh, yeah, you have to like so, yeah, explain it in a pair block. Oh, let me see. What did I ask you to do? Show summary statistics. Yeah, in graph format using. Then you can generate one. Oh, no, that's right. That's right. I want to solve this. It's not a problem. Let's see. So remember, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'll show you a little bit of a trick with ChatGPT. But, sorry. I will check it. But remember what I told you about really smart 3-year-olds? It all depends on the instructions, right? The more descriptive the instruction is, or more specific the instruction is, it will provide the right output. Or if you give general instructions like and what you got there at the beginning, the bounds, that's also we are demonstrating some statistics, right? It doesn't know which one to use, so it just randomly. Yeah. All right. So let's ask you to do one more, and I want to see a correlation, right? So let's say text. Let's try a correlation. Yeah. And let's see code, and then click generate with AI. Yeah. Oh, you have to, because we are now telling you to do something different, right? And we say create a correlation. Yeah. Let's hit run. So let's kind of behave this and I don't understand what this means. I'm going to copy that image, right? And let's see how good the multimodal capabilities of ChatGPT are. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right? So I copied that, and you guys have ChatGPT running? And I'm going to paste it there. Alright? Explain to me in simple terms what you can be on this correlation matrix. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So ChatGPT GPT-4.0 is ChatGPT is multimodal, meaning it can understand text. Although they haven't enabled it, it can understand voice. It can also understand pictures. Yeah. Basically, I took the picture, the correlation matrix, and pasted it into ChatGPT, right? And it basically explained to me what it had. So how? Let me know if you want me to. Everybody want me to slow down a bit, okay? How would you? Well, let's ask a different question. What patterns do you see? I'm going to stop for a little bit and let everyone catch up. Yeah, and I'll be walking around and helping you guys out. But basically what I wanted to show you, without knowing code, you can run a good analysis on a data set, right? So far we haven't done any predictive modeling, we've just done descriptive statistics, right? And then let's say you have these images that you generate or the results that you generate, you can pass it to another AI and kind of get its take on it, right? For example, if you have an interpretation and you're like, well, I don't know whether my interpretation is right, you don't tell the AI your interpretation, you say, hey, what do you think? What are your thoughts, right? And then you can tell it, well, I like your thoughts, but these are my thoughts. Do you think they are right or wrong? And if so, give reasons, right? So do you see how we are daisy chaining between different AIs? Yeah? We write code, use one AI. To answer questions, we use another AI. So this is your study group, right? If you're studying alone, this is your study group. And the study group can be part of a single person study group or a group study group, right? You can ask it complex questions from, I don't know, from statistics to philosophy to all of them. Yeah? So I'm going to walk around a little bit and see how you guys are doing. Yeah. Some of you guys, if you have trouble pasting into ChatGPT, paste it into Cloud. Remember, you have all these different tools, right? If one person if one AI doesn't know the answer, go to the next one. Don't waste time. Yeah. It's taking instant. Typically, what I do is I create one Gmail account, a personal Gmail account. Then all of these things have login with Google, right? Then I use that to log into everything else. And that way everything is contained within that one account. And then if you want to create a different Gmail account, you do the same thing. Right? Yes. I'm sorry about the delay. Okay, something interesting to learn, guys. No, guys. These are generative AIs, right? There's a good chance that no two will get the same output, but they will get the correct output. So summary statistics, there are so many different ways of displaying summary statistics. Right? What that node does is, NIME is basically dragging and dropping different blocks of code onto a canvas, and sometimes NIME's existing nodes are not sufficient to do the task that you want. So you need to generate a new NIME node. You can use these tools to generate the code for that Python node, right? Absolutely. Just keep in mind, you give the entire code block for NIME into the AI when you are doing it, because a good part of the code within that int9 Python node is actually about how it handles communication with the other nodes. Yeah. Let's create some machine learning, right? So we will try. Oops. Put a hash there, so it's larger. We will try to create a predictive model. All right. Ready? Code. Generate with AI. I don't know, let's say learning model that will help me to predict the persons, response. And you can write this in different ways. Alright? Let's generate. So, what was the mistake I made? I didn't tell it which machine learning model to use. Can you support vector machines, regression? I said machine learning. And he's like, all right, I'll just pick one. And these are the conversations you can have with an AI. Are there any additional models that I can use? Right? Precision, accuracy, recall, electron sports, it's kind of good. But I'm like, what if I can do better? Right? So I go to my other friend, ChatGPT. Or since I've been using ChatGPT, let's go to Cloud. Start a new chat. I'm going to copy and paste this. This is output, right? I'm going to copy and paste this output. And then I'm going to hit Shift Enter. Still running? Okay. So now I'm basically copying the code. Put it there as well. I got the following. I'm not even specifying what I got, right? I got the following results from the code I generated. I would like to try a few of the machine learning models to see if I can improve the results. What would you recommend I do? So it understands I use support vector machines. And it's giving me some options for random forest, gradient boosting, logistic regression, right? Now, when I started off, I'm like, I don't know what machine learning model. I only heard the term machine learning, right? Now I'm going to try machine learning. A lot of kids that enter my lab, they come with, oh, I tried machine learning, like what particular algorithm. And then they have to go back and look at the code, right? All right, this is telling me I can try things like logistic regression and all of that. So let's try something here. Let's try a random forest, right? So I go back to what I have. and I'm describing it this time. We will random forest algorithm. Yeah. I'm going to code generate with AI. Let's try this with random forest. Remember, when I say let's try this, it's context aware, right? When I say let's try this, it knows that I'm talking about what I specified. I can't read what I got before, but I'm guessing it's close. Right? So you can try these ones. Now what we haven't done is like hyperparameter tuning and all of that. And you can do these too. So again, you learn something, you try something. It doesn't matter if you fail. Let's see what you can do if you got this wrong, right? I am going to mess it up intentionally. Let's see. I'll just do this. Oh my god, I made an error. What do? I don't understand this. What do you do when you don't understand? You ask your other AI. So you just copy this error, go back, and tell it, I got the following error. I think it made the error, so it's correcting it from here. Right? And it's explaining what the error is, how you need to fix it, why you got that error, and all of that. Trust me, guys. I was coding before these things are available, and sometimes you run into an error that you cannot figure out, and you go to Stack Overflow, right? Kind of convince you get this. Are you stupid? Why did you do that? This is how you should do it. Well, this AI actually tells you how to do it without all that preamble about how stupid you are, right? Okay, I'm stupid. I did not know. That's why I didn't make that error. That's why I asked for help, right? This makes it so much easier. But this is the problem. This is the solution. No egos. Yeah. So these are simple type of machine learning approaches. There's a whole lot out there. So let's go back to our friend Scikit-learn. Scikit-learn's user guide. Scikit-learn. Scikit-learn.org. It's a non-profit, and it's the best way for somebody to learn different machine learning tasks. Right? These are all the models for supervised learning. Ordinary least squares, regression, lasso, multitask lasso, and everything. Yeah? So if you pick one, let's try an ordinary least squares. It tells you what all those are. That's a lot of math in there, right? I would love to learn this, but I really don't have a lot of time. What can I do? I have two options. I can copy this. The first one, yeah. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to have a chat with an AI about this. Right, so I copy the link. And let's go back. Which one should I use in this case? So some AIs don't have the ability to navigate internet yet. Claude doesn't have that ability yet. ChatGPT has that ability. Hugging Face has that ability as long as you do a simple trick. You go to this thing called tools and you enable web search. So if you are on Hugging Face, you need in ChatGPT. Right? In ChatGPT, you can just basically copy and paste the link. So if I go to ChatGPT here, maybe I'll try a different conversation. Let's try start a new conversation. I'm like, explain to me what you find here. But in this case, you can have additional conversations, right? All right, so great. Learn documentation, describe linear regression plots. Okay, that's a lot of stuff. All right, let's simplify. Please explain this to me in language the fifth grader would understand. There you go. Imagine you have a bunch of points on a graph, you want to draw a straight line that goes as close as possible to all of them. OLS is a way to find that line. I understand that. Right? Conversational learning. You provide information and then you ask additional question. That initial page that you look at, you probably won't understand it. Right? A good part of what we look through in the internet, we don't understand. Yeah? Because it's made for people with domain knowledge. So the whole goal is not to prevent you from getting that domain knowledge, but to get that domain knowledge in a conversational manner. Yeah? So using these approaches, you can go through all of the scikit-learns. You don't have to do all of them, but you can. Right? All of scikit-learn's approaches. Now let's also take a look at how this thing will be done in Hugging Chat. Right? Let's start in the chat. Whenever web tools, please explain in detail what you find at a lot of people say you don't have to say please to this, but I'm guessing at some point they will be aware enough to really start messing with you, so I'm just being polite to begin with. I'm preempting that ahead of time. Always say please and thank you. Right? So Hugging Chat is actually freely available, right? It's free for you. And the Llama 3.1 70 billion model is as powerful as ChatGPT and Claude now for some tasks. And you can see that it gives you a lot of information. And then you can actually see, here's the output ChatGPT gave to you, and it's like really nothing. But the Llama model gave you so much more information. And you can just jump in again and say, yeah. Yeah. Oh, so it's kind of interesting, right? A lot of the people behind this really believe that knowledge needs to be democratized, that the whole world has to have an equal playing field. So even so ChatGPT has a paid version, Claude has a paid version, but they still make sure that you get enough with the free version, right? Then, so those are the commercial models. Then another strong group of people, another group of scientists believe that even the models themselves need to be free, and without that we cannot equalize the playing field, right? Facebook does not believe in that model, but that's the only playing field that was left for them after these guys carved out the rest of the area. So they kind of started building this. But because of these AI wars between these different companies and all of that, no matter where we are, there's always going to be a free component, because without that, nobody's going to check it out, right? So it benefits us. Yeah, it benefits us immensely, because that gives us time to learn. Yeah, that gives us time to learn these things and get the skill sets that we need. That's kind of a long-winded answer, but you don't have to worry about all these models becoming commercial models at some point. No matter what happens, there will always be a good, strong open source model running. And some of these cutting case and all of that, they make their billions out of the mirrors. They don't care about the little money we might have to pay for kind of subscriptions, right? And then you can continue the conversation, right? In this case, I'm like, oh boy, that's a lot too much for me. Oh boy, that is such a lot of information that I understand. Can you help me, please? I love that. No ego. I'm good at it. Oh, sorry, this is still too small. No, it is still kind of too much. Yeah, I am really into this. Can you simply fifth grader? I kind of select fifth grader as my midpoint, because if that's too much for me, I can still go down to the first grader. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, okay. Hey guys, we get tea. Just to recap, guys, right? Every bit of information, the biggest challenge so far is it's not the information. It's that we did not have someone that we can easily go to break that information down into chunks that we understand. That's what they're like. Now we don't have that yet. Yeah. If it's a YouTube video that you watch, you can get the transcript, feed that entire transcript to ChatGPT, right? And have a conversation. Our students, what they do is the lectures are recorded. They use those recordings as their study material. Right? All right, this is my lecture, the first study. This is my lecture, please break down the basic concepts. Let's expand on some of those concepts. All right, give me like some questions to see if I have understood these things properly. Okay, what questions did I get right? What questions didn't I get right? The ones I didn't get right, which parts of this lecture did I not understand properly? Perfect study buddy. Like, all right, you got to go and understand this part. You got to do this differently, right? They've shown there's data demonstrating you get an entire grade. So if you are a C, you can get a B just by using AI as your study partner. And that is like bare bones AI, not even the complex things that you can do. Yeah. All right. So what have we learned so far? Broad concept and broad strokes. That all the information is available out there for you guys to learn anything, right? And then if you combine it with one or more AIs, you can ask question about the content, right? And this is not limited to coding. It's very broad. You can apply it to almost any problem, right? Um, there are multiple different applications of this. So one example is literature, scientific literature, right? It used to be, how many of you use Zotero as your reference manager? How many of you use a reference manager? Raise your hands. Okay, so some people use Zotero. What do the rest of you use? Come on, speak up. Mentally. Okay. So Zotero is an interesting one. It's open source again and free. And it has the advantage that you can build additional stuff out of it. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about something one of my students did. So if you look at my Zotero library, there's probably about 15,000 articles. I'm that old. I've been collecting articles for that long. Worst part about when you're writing something, you want to put a reference in, and you're like, I know I've read it. I know it's in my reference library. I just don't know where. Right? Everybody has that problem. One approach to solving this is what is called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG for short. Retrieval augmented generation, what it does is it takes all that information and breaks it into small chunks, and it stores it in what's called a vector database. Now, when I say retrieval augmented generation or RAG, that's for you to go ahead and have a conversation with the AI, what is RAG, right? So let's say I'm writing a paper and I make this statement, something along the lines of machine learning models have revolutionized modern surgical techniques, right? I need to find references for that. I can read through all my references and organize references and all of that, or I can ask my library, hey, what papers talk about this? And it will tell me, all right, from all of these papers that you have, here's a composite answer. And by the way, these are the papers that have that, and this is where these things have been mentioned, right? It allows you to ask a question, but you are grounding your answers in actual published literature as opposed to asking an AI directly, right? This is called grounding. Because AIs, if they don't have enough information on a particular topic, these things like to please you, so they'll lie, right? So you have to be a bit careful. Whenever you see something that an AI spits out, and if you are not a domain expert, you always need to cross-check it. Yeah? But having this type of retrieval augmented generation platforms kind of helps you ground your material. So yeah, that's kind of literally the first chapter of a thesis is a literature review of the subject that you're studying, right? I think it takes my students probably 2 days to write it, because you accumulate this information on the topic over a period of time, and when you're ready to write it, you basically use an AI and you have a conversation back and forth related to the work that you have accumulated, right? Your own work and others' work that you have accumulated, and you cite them accordingly. I'm telling this to you now because I'm guessing some of you will be going for your PhD studies, right? Or your graduate studies. It's for you to think about what is the smart way of doing this. Right? Because you will be facing a crowd who already knows this. Right? It's good for you to know it now. Like journal clubs and all of that. You have to read the paper, absolutely. But if you want to understand what the paper in the context of the greater knowledge on that field, you can take that paper, feed it to an AI, and have a conversation with it. Okay, so I understand this is unique about this paper, but I really understand how unique that is in the context of all of knowledge, right? So for the journal club, you are not going to the journal club with just the knowledge of the paper, you are also understanding how that knowledge relates to all of the other knowledge that has been there before. Does it make sense? How many of you are going for graduate studies or planning? Come on, raise your hands up. All right, so that's a good number for you, right? Gain these skills, think through these things. But in this is about coding. let's try a few different things now. So let's take a different approach. I am going to, I have this already, so I'm gonna upload a data set to this. Do I have a data set? Well, let me see. So for you to practice, you need data sets, right? One place where you can find that data set, I've given those resources to you. One place is scikit-learn, and you can directly move it. Another place is Kaggle. Kaggle has a lot of data that you can download, right? Lots of data sets. Global air quality, cars, students' performance. Some really fun stuff you can do with this data. The other place I go to is a UCA machine learning data set. And we are going to pick a data set from there. Let's see, we are going to. Let's just say settle and something. I wish. What is that? Iris data set. And I'll just do Google search. Oh, yeah, it was there. I think plant related. It's basically if you have, it's a data set of 3 different kinds of iris flowers, and you use it to train a machine learning model. So if you give a new set of parameters, it will predict which flower it belongs to, right? So this is a good data set. Alright, so we have this data set. How do we actually use Google Colab to play with this data? Well, what I typically do is I just drag and drop it into my Google Drive. Right, so you can just download it, and then drag and drop that to your Google Drive. Alright, so the iris data is in Kaggle. So if you go to Kaggle and type in iris, you should be able to download that data set. It's a small data set. Yeah? Yeah, please. What if you're? Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's honestly a question I don't know the answer to. Right? Because AI-driven code writing is primarily there in industry. We are just late to the party. I would put a disclaimer at the bottom. A part of at least a part of this code was written with the aid of an AI. Right? It's basically letting people know that you used AI, and if they want to put an additional pair of eyes on that data set, then they can. Right? But there's no consensus on how best to report AI assistance, right? Does that answer? You guys still hear me on the back, in the back? Okay. You guys got the iris data set? All right. Now drag and drop it into create a new Google Drive folder. We'll call it iris data. Right? And I'm going to drag and drop my iris data in. Okay? We're good? Let's see. It's Priyanka here. Oh, sorry. Frank, if I email that Harry's data set to you, can you send it out to the group? Or is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible.
Kaya yung juicy ka meron, it's really oh, I'm on the 4G network. You guys are really university in document or some other websites?
You can send me the data set.
Yeah. Alright, this is gonna be recorded images, right? So I'll show you what I do. And we'll Alright. Let me at least show you what I'm gonna do, right? So once you are in that folder, at least in my one, I can go to more and create a Google Colab link, right? So now, if you look at it, you have this data set and your Colab notebook are in the same Google Drive, right? It's not necessary for it to be that way, but it makes life easier. So I will give you the title, analysis of address. All right. So I always like to be very descriptive because I might be looking at this 6 months down the road and I don't remember what I've done, right? So I will say text. I will say address set. Okay, and I'm going to create another text. So that's a general idea, and I'm going to put 2 hashtags because that makes the title smaller. First step is to load the Google Drive. So remember, Google Colab will not have access to this data set unless you tell it that you can actually access it. Yeah? So, great. First step is for me to load the Google Drive, generate with AI. Okay. I want to access file drive. Let's see if it works. I don't think I've done this before. Yeah, that's right. So this bit of code that it generated allows you to connect your files in Google Drive. Right? And it's going to ask for permissions and all of that. Let's say because I should be using my permissions. This is why I keep telling you guys it's good to have your personal Gmail account. Sometimes some of these code-based access is disabled by the municipal systems as well. I think I should be this for a while. Okay. All right. And the chevron tells you where it is in terms of, the chevron tells you where it is in terms of running the code. Alright. That's there, right? So next thing I need to do is find out where this iris data set is. So you go to the files tab here. And I have my drive, Google Drive, Drive. You need to remember where you actually stored it. Specifications. Iris data. Okay, perfect. All I'm going to do, see these little 3 dots that you get there? You click on it and you can copy the path. Right? You're copying the path to that file. Okay, I don't need this anymore. Now I am going to load and I might forget where the path is, but just to avoid that, I'll also add the path, just in case. If I forget it, I can just copy and paste from there. Alright. Generate, load the iris data set. The following tab. Yeah, it's trying to do the Google Drive mount again. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna get. If you see something like that, it's trying to run code that you've written above, just ignore it, get rid of it. And just run. Okay. Now you have your iris data set. So the difference between what we did before and now, right? What we did before is we had what's called the scikit library, right? As a library has books, scikit library has data sets. And we can just basically say, hey, from scikit, bring this data in. This is different. This is when you have your own personal data, right? And I hate putting my personal research data on desktops, because if I go on vacation or something, I don't have access to it unless I do a remote login. But if I put it on Google Drive, I have access to it from wherever I am. And if I'm using Google Colab, it doesn't matter whether I'm using a laptop or an iPad or whatever, I can still run code, right? So I like to keep everything kind of separate this way. So you have this iris data set. Great. What should we do? We can just take the same approach. Let's do some summary statistics. I'm going to combine two things. Create some charts to describe this data. Summary statistics just spits out the numbers. So let's go to these pretty graphs. You guys are still having trouble with the iris data set, right? Alright, let's see if we can solve that. Describe this data set, generate. And again, I'm being kind of very broad here. I don't tell you what kind of summary graph to generate. Nothing like that. Right? It's kind of like obstacle course thing, except it's like really simple, right? So it's kind of sepal width to sepal length, how it's distributed between the three different iris flowers, right? Um, and we are basically what we are trying to with this kind of graph, what we are trying to understand is, hey, can we see any patterns by eye? Right? If you see a pattern by eye, you can definitely make an AI do something with the raw data. If you don't see a pattern by eye, then you will have to do some kind of feature engineering where you try to create some additional mathematics to pull out those patterns. Yeah? And I mean, you have some interesting stuff there. So, like in this case, we know that there might be a sepal width, might be something that we can use as part of the predictive algorithm, right? If the sepal width is above a certain amount, it's most likely going to be setosa, right? There are some interesting things. And this one, absolutely. Sepal length definitely separates out this guy, which is what? From the others, right? So this is what we do when we are doing data exploration at the beginning. Before we start anything, trying to see visually if we can see something. Yeah? And you can see that there are some patterns. Yeah? The value of this is some people have this ability to look at numbers and see patterns. It's a very rare ability, not everyone has that. But all of us, it's evolution. If we don't understand patterns, we would not have survived this long. All of us can visually see patterns. So this is abstracting the data into a visual format that we can understand. Okay, now that we've done this, then we can kind of do the same things as before, right? We can, let's go ahead and let's create a predictive algorithm. Hashes are not necessary, but it just makes a font bigger so you identify the. You can see code separately from non-code. We go to generative AI. Create a predictive algorithm. That will allow us to predict the class given the features. And well, I'm not afraid of making mistakes here, right? If I make mistakes, AI is not going to get mad at me, the computer is not going to burn to the ground, nothing's going to happen. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, I highly encourage you to make mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn, right? Push it to the limit. What did it do? 8 seconds. Use the random forest classifier. Let's see how good this model is. It is at 1. Alright. Let me see. Let's test this out. I want to give continuous independent, right? Sepal length and sepal width. And predict the class and the model. I need a place to enter the sepal length. Sorry, and you should apply it to the model and let me know what tasks it belongs to. So this might be too much instructions. That's fine. When you have all these in your mind, don't try to break it up. Just type it in there. And if it doesn't work, then you go and break it and do it again. Yeah? So that's good. Here we go. Okay. So let's see. This. Separated class address. Alright. So I don't remember the numbers here. I'm just going to throw some out there. Let's make it 1 and 2. And this again. Stress address. Yes, there must be a threshold somewhere. But this is where you start. Let's see. Sepal width is probably that we can play around. Right? Basically, that's it. That's how you start testing your model, right? Then once you have done that, what can we do? Well, the whole thing about developing machine learning algorithms and all of that, yes, you can use it internally, but you can also deliver it globally, right? So if we create an algorithm for detecting, I don't know, a rare disease, right? You need it to be globally accessible, yeah? So far what we talked about is building algorithms. How do you deploy it globally? An easy way to do it is to ask it to write this final algorithm into what is called the .h file format or a machine learning format, right? And as long as that file is available, then you can put that algorithm into production as a web application. And we'll talk a little bit about how to write web applications in a bit. But did you guys get access to the IRIS dataset so far? Shall we go through it again? Okay? So put it onto your Google Drive. Right? Everybody loaded it to your Google Drive? Use your personal Google Drive because sometimes universities do not allow programmatic or code-based access to your Google Drive. Is that? Oh, you didn't get it yet.
They must have loaded it by now.
Gmail? WhatsApp?
Gmail.
Gmail. It might take a bit of time. Alright, I'll just continue on this one and you guys tell me when you're going to show you some of this stuff, right? Alright. Okay. Okay. Alright. Follow through. Yeah. I am not even sure whether I can use one. So here's something I don't know. I don't know the random forest weights can be stored at random forest. I think we use random forest, right? Let's say, can trained random forest model be stored as a dot h file? That wasn't something, right? Okay.
Yeah, I think for example, you have to give the access to the data set. Select all or something, edit.
Oh, it's a CSV data set. Can't they download it?
Can be done, yeah.
Oh, okay. So learning is how to load data from the Google Drive into a Google Colab. Because then you can load any number of data sets and again generate with AI that you can continue to use. Right? Now, cautionary tale with generating with AI. The code is what the code is, right? So there are two things. There's something called syntax errors and logical errors. Syntax errors is if there's something wrong with the coding language or how you wrote the language, how you wrote the code, and they will throw an error. Logical errors don't necessarily throw the error. It's a false. You written the code based on a false assumption, right? Logical errors will still give you results, but the result may be wrong. So just because an AI wrote it, you can't assume that either you or the AI has not made a logical error, right? This is where this whole concept of ground truth data sets becomes super useful. A ground truth data set is a data set for which you know the answer, right? So if you are building something like this, first try with something for which you know the answer, right? And once you've written the code and the answer is not what you expect, then your code is working fine. Either you or the AI has made a logical assumption somewhere that is not correct, right? Then it's a matter of going back and forth with it, trying to figure out what was the logical error that you made. Yeah? AI just makes the syntax issues go away. It won't make the logical errors go away. You can use an AI to brainstorm through it. Right? You can take a small amount of your ground truth data set into the AI and tell it this is the expected result. Here's my code, why am I not getting the expected result? Right? So you can use an AI to brainstorm yourself through it. But the first pass data, if your ground truth data is it's not showing you that the ground truth data results are not accurate, then you need to go back and try and figure out what went wrong. Again, you can use the AI, right? And once you've done that, you have to find the path to that file. And you do that by going to this folder icon, right? Okay, okay, sorry. So on the left-hand side, you see all these icons, right? This is basically where your files are, right? You click on that, and you basically navigate to where you kept your IDS data. For me, I kept it. Oh, yeah. So IDS.csv is a file, right? Everybody's. All right, guys. How are you all doing? Alright, people have Google Drive? Yeah. So it's you don't have to use the same wording, right? There's a file in my Google Drive, how can I access it is another one, right? This is very descriptive text. You can write almost anything. Yeah? So you kind of go through that, right? And so I'm more or less used to .h5 files because I use neural networks. I kind of made an assumption that I can use a .h5 file in random forest, and AI is like, well, it's typically not what you use. You can do it, but it's a roundabout way. So it gives me some other examples of kind of models that I can use. Sorry. Oh yeah, you copy the bar, right? Let's go back. That's all right. No. This is perfectly fine. Yes. Right? You copy the bar, and basically what I did was load the IBIS dataset from the following bar, right? And then I just pasted the bar and asked you to generate the code to do that. Yeah? Can you do this? You guys doing alright then? No? Tired? The good thing is you don't have to learn everything today, right? We have 5 or 6 very good friends who are there to help you learn continuously. So don't worry if you don't get everything today. Yeah? Alright. Okay. Questions so far? So I'm not going to talk about deploying machine learning models today because I have to show you a few other things. But homework 5. Homework is have a chat with ChatGPT, Claude, Hugging Face Chat, or even Grok. And ask the question, I have this trained machine learning model, I trained it using random forest. How would I make this model available to others? Right? And then I want you to write down these 2 words. Streamlit, S-T-R-E-A-M-L-I-T, Streamlit. One. The other one is called Gradio, G-R-A-D-I-O, Gradio. Especially if you are working in the data science world, that's the easiest way to deploy machine learning models so others can use it. Yeah? So, yeah. Again, like I was saying, you have a new algorithm to predict disease, right? You do the training of the model. But the other person that's using it doesn't have to train the model again. They can just use the model, right? Once you train it, that model is in a certain form. So what you do is you provide that trained model to the others, right? And you do that as a web application, as a Streamlit or a Gradio web application. That's what we typically do, and there's a whole lot more other possibilities there. The interesting thing is, once you train a model, that model is very lightweight, right? So to train this iris, this is a small database, but sometimes we use terabytes of data to train a model, right? But once a model is trained, the model itself might be like 5 megabytes. That model can make predictions. I don't need all of the training data for that, right? That's when you put it into production so others can use it. So Streamlit and Gradio. The beauty of it is, all these models can write Streamlit code. Claude can, even Hugging Face Chat can. I haven't tested Hugging Face Chat. So basically, tell it, this is my model file. I want to deploy it as a Streamlit application. Yeah? Or I want to deploy it as a Hugging Face application. You will have to learn a little bit about Streamlit and Gradio, but it's basically taking the documentation, giving to the model, and asking to explain. A couple of things really. Jupyter notebooks are great, right? They're great for data science projects. They are great for publications. So if you do a data science project and want to publish it, they will ask for your notebook. Because your paper and the notebook has to go together. It's your notebook that the reviewers will take a look at to see if you have done everything right. With a Jupyter notebook and the data set, anybody else can reproduce your results. Right? See if you have methodological accuracy and all of that. But when it comes to deploying these models, so we are going to the next stage now. We've done the basic work and created the models, now we are deploying it. A classic example might be something like you created a plant classification algorithm where if you take a picture of a flower, it will tell you what the plant is, right? You trained it on large number of pictures and all of that, right? So now you deploy it, and because the deployed model is so small, it can run on your phone, right? And then you basically put it on your phone, or it can be a web application like a Streamlit application. So as you're walking around, you see this beautiful flower, you take a picture, and it will tell you, oh, this plant, right? Botanical name and all of that. So that's the next stage of it. It used to be those are two separate teams. People who develop is separate from people who deploy. And in between, there's a whole series called MLOps, machine learning operations and all of that. AIs are allowing all these to be a single person. There's a guy, we call it solopreneurship. You come up with an idea in the morning, you have the basic prototype done in the afternoon, you send it to a few friends to test it out. By the end of the week, it's in production and running on AWS. We've done this, and that's why I'm telling you that it is possible. So this whole end-to-end workflow, you might think, oh well, if I just create a model, that's enough. Yeah, sure, that's enough for your education. But I want you guys to think bigger. I want you guys to be the people that actually comes up with a new idea, creates a prototype, tests it among friends, and deploy it. So that others can use it. You can charge a fee if you want. If it's valuable enough, people will pay for it. Yeah? And that's where the deploying of machine learning comes in. Right? And there's, just like the free tools I've shown you here, there's a ton of free tools available for that. We can do a separate one on that if you want. But sorry. Forget that I can't see without glasses. There used to be a time when I can see without glasses. All right. This one, LM Studio is a good platform, right? You can use it to run local models. So let's see. And I'm just showing you, you don't have to do it right now. I'm going to start a new chat. I'm only using models that have been running locally, right? So this is not running online, this is running on my computer. I'm using stable code instruct. The reason it's taking a while is it's literally loading the model right now. And I can ask a question. What is the code to take in CSV file and replace all missing values with the median order? So this is called inferencing. Inferencing is happening on this little laptop. And it's pretty good, right? I want you to understand, not having access to the internet is no longer an excuse. Come to the library and download LM Studio and download the model, then you can take this home. So, from Doha to Sri Lanka, planes don't have internet. Well, at least Qatar Airways don't have. Actually, nothing works on that plane except maybe the engines. But that's how I was getting some of this work done because I already had the models loaded onto my laptop. And I can still continue to write code. I can copy the error messages, give it to it, and ask it what issues it has and all that. Right? You have access to these things 24/7. You need to use it. Alright? Do I have one more thing? Oh yeah. The other thing that is again free, you should have access to is VS Code. This is everyone uses it. And within VS Code, there's something called Code GPT chat. VS Code takes a little bit of practice. There is a different type of code writing. These are package code writing. Meaning, if you want to put a machine learning model on a web application, this allows you to write the entire web application. Web application is different from the collab node. Yeah, there are additional components that need to be. So VS Code is something that I highly recommend everyone have access to. And VS Code itself has AIs that you can integrate that select your AI. I want this is not good. That's good how I go through it. So I can do something like write the code to take a CSV file and replace all the values with the median for the respective points. This is kind of a first stage in data processing, right? Alright. Great. So it told me the code, it told me how it wrote it. And then all I have to do here is hit insert code. Yeah? This one takes a little bit of time to learn. Which is why I want you guys, it's easy to start with Google Colab. Everything is done on the server, this one relies on the local person power and all. But this is where you kind of will ultimately end up. If you want to be actual machine learning engineers or AI engineers. Remember, AI researcher looks at algorithm. AI engineer takes what others have done and builds something. I fall into the AI engineer category where we like building things. But AI researchers are a different category and they still use the same set of tools. Is that right? Oh, our timing was 9 to 12, right? Or 12:30? We have 6 more minutes. Oh, okay. Let's take some questions, guys. Yes. If you want to save the code. So if it's on Google Colab, it's just like a Google document, right? That is already there. Now, Google Colab, they typically try to save it in a separate place, right? But what you do is, it's still in your drive, but it's Colab notebooks they try to save it in a completely different place. So what you do is, once you're happy with what you've written in the Colab notebook, you can go and move the file to the folder that you want, right? You don't have to save this. This is saving automatically, right? You just, or in this one, so let me show you this. This is only file that is here. Colab notebook file that is here. So this one is somewhere else, I don't know where it is. So I just go and move it. Now if you go to that folder, you will see there's going to be two Colab notebooks there, right? Typically what I do is I create the folder, put the data there, and then right click on it, and right click the context menu will, but basically you can create a new Colab by right clicking it and going through the options. You will have options to create a Google Doc, Sheets and all of them. One of them will be Google Colab. Alright? More questions? Yes?
Can we use this, the graphs to express Google data?
Absolutely. As long as you provide the code as well. Right?
So it doesn't use plagiarism?
No. Plagiarism is if you use somebody else's work. So if you use this approach, always kind of acknowledge that part of this code was actually generated by an AI, right? But you can always use that graph. Now remember, you have to make sure it's your responsibility to make sure that the graphs are depicting accurate information, right? And again, if you have any issues, take a picture of the graph, take your data, put it into a GPT or Claude or whatever, and have a conversation with it, right? Questions? None? So if I'm happy to do a subsequent workshop, of course, when I'm back stateside, and we'll have to do it via Zoom. But I want you guys to practice. Thank you for listening, guys. Hope you all learned something, and stay on. It's a great time. I keep telling my students, I wish I can go back to grad school now, because the toys you guys have available is unbelievable.
I have no words to thank you, sir.
Oh, please. That is what we are here for.
You did my job, come on.
We've gone through. No, we haven't had such fancy.
So, actually, we are engaging with some biological research, somewhat different from these things. So, actually, you made some new facts and ideas for our new research generated our work. Actually, I'm engaging with fundamental research, but I have learned a lot of things that I can do in my future. So as well. So I actually we are interested in working with you and some work continue with the especially in AI and
This guy.
and what
Boots on
are
the ground.
what are the ways that we can self study? What are the resources that we can use for this?
Right. So all of your self-study stuff actually is here, right? Now, if you all want to learn additional stuff, I highly recommend these courses. Deep learning.ai. Do you guys know who Andrew Ng is? Yeah, you know, right? Andrew Ng is a guy who started Google's DeepMind division. And he is like a very well respected AI research scientist, and he's also one of the founders of Coursera. Deeplearning.ai is a free thing for now, and it's a good place for you guys to. The courses there are really short, so it's a good place for you guys to go and see if I have my account. Yeah, like everything from prompt engineering to federated learning, software development, that's a good one, right? These are like tiny ones. Maybe it might, it's probably like 4 hours, 6 hours courses, right? Little mini courses that gets you started. And once you get started, you can just continue with your AIs, right? Coursera has some great courses, mathematics for deep learning, specialization, but you have to pay for it, right? Oh, YouTube. YouTube has an amazing amount of information. And honestly, most of the information nowadays comes from non-traditional sources. It's not books. It takes us time to write books, and that's about 3 life cycles of this technology. right? So any book that you read will probably be out of date. By the time they print, it's out of date. So I would actually look at these non-traditional sources that will give you most up-to-date information. Yeah? In fact, what you're learning today is probably going to be out of date for today's Wednesday, right? But like next week, it's probably going to be slowly getting out of date. So you need to be continuing to learn. Yeah? Does that answer your question at least?
Yes.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to scare you. But it's continuous learning. The time where we have taken a degree and we are set for life is gone. It's continuous, it's lifelong learning now. That's a new reality. Yes?
The data analysis, the outcomes of the data analysis, can we use them directly, like instead of statistical analysis software? Is it reliable?
Yes. So this is again something that you need to verify. Remember I was telling you about ground truth data sets and all of that? You need to make sure that your approach is statistically sound, right? And all of that. Statistical analysis software, it's basically giving you a user interface underneath which this code is running, right? This is basically you are using code to do your statistical analysis, right? I like this approach more than the statistical analysis software itself, because they say we did this with SPSS version this one. I can go to do the SPSS version that one and repeat your results. Doesn't tell me how exactly the underlying mechanisms are running, right? I get some idea, but not everything. But with something like Python, it's completely transparent. You know everything that's going on. If you made a logical error, you can actually see it. Yeah. So it can be used as statistical analysis approaches.
Any more questions? Actually, it's great that it's not only a question. The feedback came from him, listeners, right? I can't be too, but this is not the first time you are helping us.
Hey man, happy to be here.
10 times, I think.
What do you mean?
You're a town
This is where we got our
friend for
start,
us.
right? This is where we got our start. We have to give back.
Thank you for doing us. Why don't you join me?
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
And
It's
two
so
more.
fun that you learn from your students.
That's a cycle of learning.